everyone. This is A Bit of Business. My name is John FitzGerald, and on behalf of LearMedia.tv and the British and Irish Trading Alliance, welcome to the show. We have a real treat in store this week, ladies and gentlemen, with our special guests, Paul Whitnell and Michael Crees. Both are well-known figures across the BITA community. Paul as president of the organization, which he set up years ago, and Michael as the newest Porsche Supercup racing driver for Parker Revs Motorsport, and of course, from his previous success with the British Touring Car Championship. Believe it or not, Michael's racing career only started in 2017 when he entered the BITA Cup, winning it on his first attempt. He continued his winning ways in 2018 by winning the BITA Supercup again on his first attempt. Let's face it, Michael is a celebrity, and racing that he is involved in has been watched live by almost 400,000 trackside spectators and over 19 million viewers on TV in the UK alone. In addition, Michael runs several successful businesses in parallel to his professional racing interests, so he is also quite the entrepreneur. That's it, folks. Please do remember to visit the BITA website, bita.ie, for news about upcoming events and initiatives, including, of course, the Be Plastic Aware campaign that is focused on reducing the amount of plastic used across the construction sector in Ireland and the UK. Paul and Michael coming up next. Please do stay tuned. And we are live now with Paul and Michael. Gents, it's a real pleasure to welcome you both to the show. And let's jump straight in. My first question relates to the very exciting and very recent Porsche Supercup race in Monaco. Paul, I'll come to you in a minute, as I would really appreciate your perspective on this question as a spectator. But first, Michael, to you as a driver new to the Porsche Supercup, could you take us through the emotional roller coaster ride that was your first race in Monaco on May the 23rd?
Well, you hit the nail on the head there. Emotional roller coaster. It certainly was. In the deep end, baptism of fire. Probably not going to get any bigger occasion than the Monaco Grand Prix. And it all come around so fast and so quick. And would have liked a bit more time in the Porsche before I got out there. Only had a day and a half pretty much in it with wet and dry conditions, so I didn't quite understand the car fully. But when we got out there, it was just such a surreal experience. I had to pinch myself every minute of the day to realise I'm actually racing on the streets of Monaco, and it was an incredible experience, all until the last lap.
And take us through the last lap, Michael.
So I done really well in practice. 40 minutes we had of practice. So it was like my first experience driving down to the track. The Porsche tent's about half a mile outside of Monaco. We get all the roads get shut off, and we get police escort through the streets, and then you just pop out onto the start finish line, which was amazing. And then I found myself like the first lap just taking it all in, because we had to do a slow lap round to the pit lane. So it was quite cool, because you literally were just driving around, just looking at everything. And, I'm sure all the other professionals were looking at the curbs and looking at the track and seeing where they can brake. But I was just like taken in by this. And then we got back to the pit lane. And so that was the practice. And then straight away, you automatically get into work mode, and you need to start finding time and start driving the track and learning it and stuff. So you forget about all your scenery around you. And which we done a great job. And then we went into qualifying on the Friday, done another fantastic job. Last lap lottery, I managed to string it together and found a second and a half and put it second P2 overall in Pro-Am, which is only half a second off of a guy called Roar Lindeland, who's won the last 3 championships in Pro-Am. So I was mega impressed. Personally, I was really happy with my performance. Started the race on Sunday, and I don't know how, but I missed a massive multi-car pile-up by 2 or 3 inches. Got through the carnage and found myself leading the race. And so we started the race again behind the safety car. And I had such a good restart. I was miles in the lead and just got into the first corner and just didn't understand the car as much. I didn't even approach it. I approached it in 4th gear instead of 5th gear normally. So I thought I was going a lot slower than what I was. Hit the brakes, unfortunately locked the front wheel. And in the new Porsche, you need to come all the way off the brake to release the wheel to spin, which just didn't slow me down enough for the corner. And I caught the curb, and the curb just finished me off and put me in the wall. And unfortunately, it was a DNF. And all I could have done is if I'd have just stayed on the track and drove around in 2nd gear, I would have still been on the podium. So I'm gutted with that. But it's the racer in me, I still want to push. I still want to keep up with the pros, and I'm still pushing hard, and I want to do good performance and build the experience. I don't want to just be there making up the numbers. You know what I mean?
So I saw the pile up, Michael, and I saw you scoot through on the outside, and literally it was inches. I tell you must have been just thanking your lucky stars when you got through there.
Yeah, I mean, when I see it all going off on the hill in front of me, and all I could see was a wheel bouncing across the track with all the suspension on it. And I thought, lucky enough, I was on the right-hand side. So I just aimed at the wheel, and I thought, by the time I get there, hopefully that wheel will be out of the way. And I just caught the wheel and bounced it off out of the way as I got through. But it was one of them moments where you go for a gap and you sort of scoot yourself forward as the car was coming back across the road. I managed just to get through, but yeah, I did hit the wheel, which did damage the front left of my car, which maybe might have contributed towards the lockup on the way in or whatever. But I won't find out until next week when we've got the data back from Monaco on the car to find out exactly where I locked up. And that's the great thing with this, and with Stuart Parker and Team Parker Racing, we can delve into absolutely everything on the car and find out how the mistake happened, why it happened. They can look at my warm-up lap to see if I did put enough heat in the tyres or the brakes or whatever, and I can learn from that, and we can take that on to Austria. So, it's a big learning curve. I'm the only driver on the grid never to have raced a Porsche before. Everyone else on that Supercup grid has either won a championship or raced a championship in Porsche. So I think we're doing incredibly well at the moment, and we're only going to get better.
I think it's a hell of a start given those circumstances, Michael. Fantastic. And I'm really interested in the differences between BTCC, the Touring Car Championship cars, and the Porsche Supercars. So we'll come back to that in a second. But first, let's go to Paul, because Paul has been living and breathing this as well with you side by side for quite a while. Paul, take us through your emotional roller coaster watching all of this.
Well, I just can't believe he's actually found the wheel as the get out clause for this one. But I look forward to receiving the date on that one. I mean, with regards Michael's journey in terms of this, it's been amazing from a point of view of the first time we spoke about his ambitions to racing, and then seeing the progression going from Ginetta to British Touring Car and now into Porsche. And we have become incredibly close because of the journey we're on. And it's like, it's something else because it is a roller coaster, and it is a very, very hard thing to do what we have done in terms of achieving our goals. But it's an important thing because that's what Michael does, is he sets his goals and he always achieves his goals, which from a sponsorship point of view is so refreshing that you can actually turn around to someone, make a statement, and then he goes and does it. So, when we went back to Ginetta, it was winning the championship. He'd done it. He was he went into British Touring Car. He was best rookie straight away. He went on to win the Jack Sears Trophy. All of those goals, none of them has evaded him yet, which is incredible. And this is what he amazes me. And, we looked at each other when we said we were going down to Monaco and getting involved in F1, and we're going, is this for real? And even the night before the two of us sat down and we discussed our plans in terms of how we approach a race and all that kind of stuff. And when I say we, it is a we. He does this. He's a brilliant listener at what's around him and takes it all in. And we had a plan of kind of, going into this race and treating Monaco a little different than you would normally, because it is such a special place anyway. It's such a difficult track, and there's so many different things about Monaco than the rest of the program. So it was a case of always treating this one differently. And, looking back on it now, the positives that were actually created from the weekend, and this is what I said to Michael, because he was so gutted after DNFing, and it was like, it was the first time that I was faced with a scenario where I thought I mightn't be able to get him back on the day, put the smile back in his face, and because he was beating himself up. And what I said to him was, I gave him a big hug first of all, and then I said to him, look at the positives. Look what you've done in practice. Look what we've done in the build up to this. And because if you look at it in hindsight, like, small little things happen in racing that make us such a difference. And it was like you passing that pass, that move was incredible. Had he finished the race, you can imagine that move would have become, 100 times greater because he finished the race. But unfortunately, not finishing the race robbed him of that trophy. It was such a courageous move to find the inside and make that decision like that and do it. And I was going, whoa, when I saw it. It was unbelievable. And the reaction on the phone from people, watching it as well, was incredible. And we suddenly realized that we're in a different league here. We're in a different game here. But, for him to absorb that as a driver, as a person, he just does it all the time. It doesn't matter how far we step him up to the next level. He just takes it all in because he's a natural. And this is what I suppose we don't realize, that we've got one hell of a natural racing driver here.
And Michael, back to the other question there about the differences between the Touring Car Championship and what you're driving there, and now these wonderful looking Porsche supercars in the Supercup. What are the differences and how do you adjust to that?
Completely different machinery, completely. The first time I got in the Porsche, there was nothing that I could take from touring car to the Porsche. The braking's different, the acceleration's different, the dynamics are different. I've gone from a front engine, front wheel drive car to a rear engine, rear wheel drive car. It felt, the first time I got in it felt like I've never driven a car before. I've never raced a car before. And it was like back to the drawing board completely. And I did feel a little bit, wow, like, what have I done here? Because, I started off sort of 7-8 seconds off the pace. And by the end of the day, I was only 1.8 seconds off the pace on the first day that I'd done. So I was getting to grips with it quite quickly. But the problem was for me, I don't know for Paul, but I think Paul feels the same. Is we were at British Touring Car and we were in the top 10, cemented this year, maybe top 6, maybe even winning races and podiums for sure this year with the pace that I've shown in pre-season. And we didn't think it was going to get any better than that. We thought we were at the pinnacle of our game, and that's where we were at. And when we signed for Porsche, we were like, well, yeah, this is a good step, on the Formula One calendar, but how's it going to go and how's it all going to work? And when it got released, and we just overlooked it. It was a global level. These are the best drivers in the world. These are the best tracks in the world. This is Porsche, the best brand in the world. And we just underestimated how big this actually was. And until I released it, and then everybody and the messages were flooding in, and the support, and everyone saying, "Wow, Crees is going to the world stage." That's when I actually sat there and thought, "Hold on a minute, like have we completely got this wrong?" And so there's a lot of hard work to be done. I need a lot more time in the car, but obviously it costs money, and we need to bring in more commercial partners to make that happen for me to get quicker. And who knows, the way that my journey's going and the way that the learning curve's going, who's saying that we can't be up there if we stay doing Porsches for the next few years? On the Formula One calendar, who's saying that we can't actually get to the top of that as well? So, it's looking very good at the moment. And my goal this year now is to definitely win some Pro-Am races and try and win the Pro-Am championship. But where do we go from there? If we win that, do we go back to British Touring Car and try and win the championship there, or do we stay in Porsche and try and win the Pro championship there? Do we go and do something else? I honestly don't know.
Paul, it would be great to give a shout out to some of the sponsors that have gone on the journey with yourself and Michael here. Tell us about those, please.
Yeah, well, I suppose this is, a whole new level. And if you look at the sponsors that we have, like Glencar, for instance, came in as a sponsor this year. And they are the fastest growing construction company in the UK currently. And their interest is obviously further afield in terms of data storage centers in Europe. So it's a great way for them to brand build, and it's a great story to be attached to. So, and they're a great partnership in terms of, the brand of Glencar as well, because we like the people we're dealing with, and we get kind of a bit of energy from them. They're a great company. When we visited the company, and we had a great day there, and that's very important with the relationship with the sponsors. Clever Baggers have been there since the start, and Viv has been, an immense kind of support to us in terms of, and another brand that actually fits into the ethos of BITA because of our global clean, and Clever Baggers fits in there as well. So there's lots of correlations between the activities what BITA does, and this is where Michael's got this strength in his corner, because while Michael's the front end racing driver, he's got a backroom team that actually has something about it in terms of value for sponsors. So there's the when you look at the actual cost of sponsorship, when you look at the brandability and brand awareness that you create, but then the backup of an organization like BITA that can follow through that conversation down different avenues to give you even more value. And that's very important as well. PCS has been a fantastic sponsor for Michael's from the start, Vince Caldecott. And, without Vince, to be honest with you, none of this would be happening. And we've got new companies like Blue Rock, an IT company on board now, and DDS Demolition and DPC and Hive, Vita. They're all great relationships that we have with people for various different reasons, but they all bought into Michael personally as well in terms of the story. So what we've got is, we've got sponsors who are very close to the whole journey that we're on, which is fantastic, and there's always room for more.
And I think that's a great message, Paul, because the sponsors are aligning with what Michael is trying to achieve, but also you're now on a far broader stage, Michael, and with millions of people literally watching what you're doing. It's a great opportunity for brands to get that recognition. But I'd love to understand from you, for those who don't know a huge amount about racing, am I correct in saying that every Porsche is essentially the same in the Porsche Supercup within tolerances, I guess? So then it starts to come down to the quality of the driver. And I'd love to understand what you're seeing in terms of the quality of the drivers in Porsche Supercup versus the quality of the performance of the drivers in the BTCC, and what are the major differences?
Yeah, it's another massive difference. I mean, Porsche Supercup is the best single make series championship in the world, and when you all go and jump in the same car, it was like when I was in Ginettas. We all had the same Ginetta. It was all about tweaking a little bit of setup, and then it was mainly down to the driver, delivering the car and the setup, with the team. But when you go to touring car, there's so many variants. There's so many different drivers, there's different techniques, there's so many changes you can do to the car, there's different engines, there's different chassis, there's the different aero, there's so many variables. So that's why in touring car you get to the end of the season, you've got probably 6-7 drivers all fighting for the championship, where in Porsche in a single make series, the cream rises to the top. and you know, and you know, Larry Ten Broad, who won at Monaco. You know, you can watch him drive that Porsche, and his ability is just single ability. These are Formula One drivers that haven't made it, or they've been there and test driving, and then they've come back to Porsche or whatever. These guys are the best drivers in the world. And for me to be putting myself against them, you know, it's like anything. When I've always found if I play golf with a better golfer, I play better golf. If I play snooker with a better snooker player, I play better snooker. If I've always raced against better people, I've always got better and better and better. And that's why I always put myself against the best of anybody out there in anything I'm doing, because then I'll become better. A lot of people get to the top and they want to just stay there and win, and they don't want to fight from the back and get to the top. They'd rather stay where they're comfortable at winning or know where their abilities are. And I'm just not built like that. I just rather just keep going until I can't do any more.
It sounds to me, Michael, and in our introduction, I talked about all of your business interests. You know, you have a successful plumbing business, you have an events business, you have the racing. How do you manage to balance all of it?
Paul really sorts that for me. No, it's and you know, I've got 2 young kids and my wife as well. That's probably like the family side of it. I have to juggle as well with the business. We've just got a new carpentry company. We've got a plumbing and heating company. We're looking at opening up another company as well. But it's all about the foundations and you're doing things right. And that's what Paul's helped me learn over the years and introduced me to the right people through BITA. And you know, getting the sense of, if you get in the foundations right from the ground upwards, then you're going to succeed, and that's what we've put in place here. And touch wood, you know, we carry on and being successful.
And Paul, you've gone on this journey with Michael, because clearly you saw something in Michael that has blossomed, and he's got better and better. And where do you see the opportunities for growth, I suppose, in the BITA brand through this successful partnership with Michael?
Well, you know, what it does is it allows this progression to happen naturally. So if we take, for instance, you had an Irish company recently called Majestic or Flair, which is one of the sponsors. And their ambition was to grow their company. So they bought a brand called Majestic in the UK. And you had this relationship with Ireland, England in terms of manufacturing and sales. And you had an organization like BITA sitting there to actually accommodate this. And then we brought the concept of the opportunity to sponsor Michael on board. And they embraced it. So where growth is actually concerned, in this journey that we go on, gives us this constant learning. And and Michael is just a typical example of the best when it comes to that. You know, I'm 54 years of age. I never stopped learning from this guy. You know, he is incredible in terms of his approach, and he's like a sponge taking it all in. You know, and it you know, so where does it go? It'll keep growing as long as his mentality stays as the same, and he's very grounded. You know, even though we did step up, you know, we are a great team together. And one of the funny stories was we went out the night after the race to just kind of, you know, get him back up and put a smile back in his face. So the 3 of us just went for a beer, and we went to this place, and we couldn't get in because the security was so tight in this venue. And the boys just walked down, and I just said, leave it to me. That's what I do. And I called the boys back and says, come on. Next thing, the manager of the hotel came in, brought us down, brought us in a seating area. And Michael just turns around to me and says, how did you do that? You know? And it's just like, you know, that's my job.
That is a very underestimated story. It was the most exclusive bar in Monaco called the Buddha Bar. Everyone knows how hard it is to get in there. We chanced our arm, and the doorman didn't even give us a second. And no, so I didn't even argue. We just walked off, and next thing he's saying, come back. And we've been wished in. We've got our own booth. We've got our drinks coming. The manager's taking pictures with us, and I just looked at Paul. It's just like, what? How does he do it? Do you know what I mean?
But that's team, and the good thing about this is as we grow into these experiences, you gain more experience and you appreciate what you're doing. So where is this going? It's been a hell of a journey so far, and look where we've gone to. So it'll go wherever Michael wants to go. I know what his ambitions are. Perhaps you might ask him that, because he will tell you. And I've no doubt we'll reach those goals as well.
Well, Michael, over to you. What are your goals and your ambitions for the next couple of years?
I mean, I've got some unfinished business. Obviously, this year I'm focusing on Porsche Supercup and trying to win the championship. And I think if I do win the championship this year, I've got some unfinished business in touring car that maybe I can come back to if we can get the right deal, or we stay in Porsche for another couple of years. But I think my long term is, getting into TV, that sort of pundit, sort of that sort of side of things, and coming out the other side. So I still enjoy, I still watch motorsport even when I'm not in the car, and I'm living and dreaming about the other stuff. And I've sort of got to know a lot of the racing drivers over the years now, and I say it how it is. I'm a normal bloke at the end of the day, and I don't mix my words. I say it how it is, and I think the fans like that. I think the marshals like that. The media like that, and I think when my career does come to an end of racing and I hang up the boots, I think definitely I want to get involved in the commentary side or the TV personality side of it. So that's where I think I'm heading. But I've still got a few years left in me yet to try and win some championships. And
is the Porsche fun to drive?
Yeah. Yeah, it's a great car. I mean, it's so refined. It's such a they don't believe in revolution. They believe in evolution in the Porsche, and they just make it better and better. And the car is just so good to drive, and it's just finding that extra little bit now. I'm getting to the point where it's always like like I go back to golf. You get down to a scratch handicap, but it's getting to +6 to get to that extra little bit. And the more laps I turn in the car, and the more I do, I think I can find my way through that. And it's such a different car to drive. I mean, Harry King is my teammate, a young and up and coming. He's probably going to be the best GT driver to come out of the UK by far, because he's just different class. And working with him for the weekend, I see why, and I can see how good he actually is. And I'm learning all the time off of him, and it's just different. From my touring car days, I go into the corner 10 mile an hour faster than him. I go through the corner 10 mile an hour faster than him, but I come out 6/10 down or half a second slower than him. And I'm like, how can that be? But he stops the car, turns the car, and he's back on the power 16 meters earlier than I can get back on the throttle. So I'm carrying all the speed in and doing all the dangerous stuff all the way into the corner. All I have to do is just peg it back and just slow it down a little bit, turn the car and go. So the concept is just retraining my brain not to send the car in and stuff. I've just got to just try and change a little bit the way I'm driving, which the things I'm doing is easier to fix than to try and tell you to go faster into a corner or round a corner. So now it's going to be easy pegging it back a little bit, if that makes sense.
Marginal gains makes the difference.
Yeah, every corner, half a tenth of a second, every corner, and you found a second, and that's where I need to be.
Paul, what's the next race, and what's the plan to prepare for that one?
We're off to Austria next, and it's a double weekend, so it's going to be great from a point of view of the time he's going to get it spending. For a double weekend means week 1 you get to know the track, week 2 you get to race the track. So I'm expecting that we're going to see a difference in Michael in that regard anyway, and it's the whole program for the season is amazing. So you've Silverstone, you've got Zandvoort, you've got Monza, Spa. I dribble when I actually read them out, it's just incredible the opportunities that will arrive. But it's all about keeping focused now on the job at hand. And now that Monte Carlo is finished, we can now focus on racetracks in a different way and gain from the experience that we had. Because going over there, even the team setup, it's so professional, it's so slick, it's so amazing. So to get used to that and get the feel for that, and from my perspective, the network of people, get to know the network of people that we're talking to as well is important. So there's a lot of work that goes behind the scenes, and we certainly look forward to all that. To be in Europe doing this for a season is a dream come true, but we've got to now approach it in the best way possible for us and the team, and we look forward to the success that's going to bring.
Well, Michael, let's leave the last words to you, because it sounds like extremely exciting times for both you and for Paul and for the whole team. And you mentioned evolution rather than revolution, and clearly you are evolving into this incredible celebrity, world-class race car driver. So for those folks looking and watching in the audience, what advice would you have for any budding race car drivers out there?
Just be yourself. Keep yourself in the shop window. You've got to work hard outside the car, twice as hard outside the car than you do inside the car. There's always people to learn from. I still have a driver coach now. I've always had a driver coach coaching me from day one. Commercial partner, management side of things. You've got to build your team like foundations. Like I've said with my own businesses and stuff, we've had to set the stall out now. When I first turned up, we'd turn up with a few mates and a family and everyone having a laugh and a joke, and then you sort of get in the car and go racing. But now, you need to make sure your head's right, your body's right. You haven't got any outside attractions, taking your mind off of things and stuff like that. When you get to this level, you have to focus and you have to turn up and do the job that's in front of you. And there's a lot of things riding on it now. It's not just me turning up and as a hobby and having a bit of fun. There's a lot of people investing a lot of time, a lot of money, and a lot of effort into me, and I need to deliver. And that's probably the first time I've ever made a mistake off my own back, like I did in Monaco, and that's why I took it to heart so much. And it's probably this is the first day, or yesterday was probably the first day that I actually felt normal again. Waking up in cold sweats at night, thinking, if I could have just done this or I've done that, and every time my head hits the pillow, I'm thinking, I should have just gone down there, or I should have braked earlier. Or, it's hindsight. It's a wonderful thing, but you've got to dust yourself down from that. Don't dwell on things. Think of the positives and move forward. And young drivers that are trying to get into racing now will get knocked back. They will lose sponsors. They will, people will let them down, or they will have an accident, or they will, whatever. But you've got to just get up and keep yourself in that shop window and keep pushing. And that's what all I've done. And it's been, thanks to Paul and thanks to Vince and Tony Greenway as well, is why we're here and racing at the top level against the best people in the world. So who knows where it's going to go from here and how far, but we just got to keep on that journey and keep pushing.
Well, we all live and learn, Michael, and clearly you're very, very good at doing that. We wish you the very, very best of luck in Austria. And now, while I have you on screen and on the show, you have to promise and come back in a couple of months' time and tell us how Austria and all the other races went. So can you commit to doing that for us?
Yeah, 100%. Me and Paul will be back, hopefully with a big shiny trophy.
Good stuff. Great stuff. Well, look, Paul Whitnell, Michael Crees, thanks so much for joining us today. Ladies and gentlemen, this has been A Bit of Business. My name is John FitzGerald. All the best for now.
Thank you, John.
Cheers.